Assalamualaikum. Today I will present the overview of our paper research which is titled An Overview of Corporate Governance Models in Financial Institutions. So, I am Muhammad Afiq Shazwan bin Muhammad Rahim. Metric number 043673 will be the first presenter to present about background and introduction, problem statement, and objective of our study. So basically, corporate governance is important in the current business environment, as different countries use different form and conception of corporate governance based on their unique legal and regulatory framework. This study illustrates financial views based on their unique characteristics. The paper describes the models of corporate governance in terms of their definition, nature of management, and objective, as well as the roles, regulation, and power of various stakeholders in ensuring accountability and the protection of various stakeholders' rights. These models differ in terms of nature, culture, costume, epistemology, and the rules of regulation of their respective countries. The critical study of these corporate governance models is thought to aid empirical research on corporate governance models and the development of a specific Islamic corporate governance model. However, the article may assist in providing a basic understanding of a corporate governance structure in both traditional and Islamic financial regulation. Next, the problem statement. The study focused solely on corporate governance model because, to our knowledge, no other publication covers the 7 governance system types. The document can serve as a learning tool. The study can help researchers explore the corporate governance system by providing a basic image of international models and assisting in the development and improvement of existing systems. Lastly, the goal and objective of this study is to provide a review of the 7 corporate governance models from both a traditional and Islamic perspective, covering their basic principles and growth in light of the country's unique aspects and circumstances. The definition and concept of corporate governance are explored in the following subsection before the form of corporate governance are described.
The literature review. The first step is to consider what corporate governance should entail in the literature review, because it provides the basis for understanding different corporate governance systems predominant in the world. So, several definitions on corporate governance that are generally accepted are discussed in this section. As you can see, the corporate governance is defined as the mechanism to ensure the justifiable return on investment by investors, especially by the financial resource provider. Corporate governance is the abroad term used for the processes, customs, policies, laws, and institutions that govern the operations, management, and control of organization and corporations. So, based on Oman 2001, defined that the corporate governance as a term that refers to the private and public institutions that include laws, regulations, and the business practices which govern the relationship between the corporate managers and also the stakeholders.
My name is Muhammad Faiz Huziami bin Muhammad Fauzi. My metric number is 05002 and I want to talk about discussion and critical analysis. About this article, this paper provides an overview of conventional and Islamic corporate government in financial institutions. In the traditional financial service sector, the board of directors, managers, supervisors, shareholders, depositors, regulatory authorities, and customers are the main elements of the corporate government system. Insider mechanisms such as individual, family, and state participation predominate in corporate governance models, while outsider mechanisms such as institutional investor and people participation predominate. In this view, regulator and government in this countries emphasize the interests of both mechanisms, such as shareholder and stakeholders. Furthermore, the Sharia Supervisory Board is an additional layer in Islamic corporate governance that monitors and supervises the Sharia principle in the activities of Islamic banks. Corporate government principles differ globally due to the nature of practice, religion, custom, culture, and belief, and were developed to protect the right and interests of shareholder and stakeholder. The European model is based on the perspective of stakeholder. The European model is based on a two-tier system that includes a separate management board from executive directors and a supervisory board from outside directors, with these two boards meeting separately. The European model protects stakeholder rights, but from the standpoint of shareholder rights, the European model is silent and does not discuss agency conflicts clearly. The Anglo-Saxon Model originated in the United States of America and the United Kingdom, and it widely practiced globally, particularly in Commonwealth countries. In terms of CEO selection and rules, this model has its own limitation in practice. Only institutional shareholders have a large influence in this model, rather than generous shareholders, and prioritize the interests of shareholders over the interests of all stakeholders. Japanese corporate government system is well known as a bank-led or bank-based model. This bank-based model represents not only the shareholders' point of view, but also a significant component of strong state regulation and interference. Generous shareholders are less important in this model, where institutional shareholder control corporation and management are not independent in carrying out their duties. Profit maximization is the main goal of this model, with little emphasis on protecting the rights of all stakeholders. Germanic corporate government system practice in an autonomous economic system that benefits both of firms, shareholders, and stakeholders. The structure is made up of a supervisory board and a managing board. Banks are regarded as the primary source of finance in this system. Germanic model differs from other models due to its three distinct components, two of which are concerned with board formation and one with shareholders' rights. To begin, the Germanic model recommends two-tiered board with distinct members. Second, the size of the supervisory board is mandated by law, and shareholders have no authorities to change it. Third, voting power limits are legal, and they limit a shareholder's ability to vote on a certain percentage of the firm's total share capital, regardless of share ownership positions.
The discussion and critical analysis for Latin corporate governance system. So, the Latin corporate governance structure is regarded to be a more flexible method of corporate governance than the preceding systems. Cross-shareholding, financial shareholding, tenacious government ownership, and family-based control dominate the attention of the share. The family is more powerful than the general stockholders in this approach. The bank's higher authority and decision-making process are under the hands of the family members. The Latin model is spread out beyond the family to be local community and operates on the same principles. While the Chinese corporate governance model, the Chinese government demonstrates corporate governance structure based on the Anglo-Saxon model or market model. In 1996, the Chinese government decided to apply its own corporate governance model. The board of directors is the ultimate decision-making and policy-making body for the company. The BOD has the power to hire and dismiss, reward and punish. Next, the Islamic corporate governance model. The Islamic system is similar to the capitalist economic commerce and the traditional banking system in that it allows the shareholders to benefit and to enhance their wealth. The Islamic corporate governance model, on the other hand, recognizes the rights of stakeholders to use the organizational structure to achieve the company's stability, social and economic fairness. Two boards, the Sharia Supervisor Board and the Shura Board, constitute with stakeholders are involved in the process of Islamic governance. Last but not least, the corporate governance in financial institutions. The process of preserving, leading, guiding, monitoring, and controlling organizations is known as corporate governance. The corporate governance model of traditional financial institutions is a hybrid of Anglo-Saxon and European models. The board of directors is responsible to the shareholders, regulatory agencies, and depositors. Banking rules and commercial laws keep an eye on banks. So, the conclusion. The significance of effective corporate governance is evident in this review, which is a volume of research on corporate governance. So, corporate governance is a mixture of organizational policies, procedures for improving business performance, and also guaranteeing accountability, structures, customs, laws, and regulations that have an impact on the monitoring and control and institute. And the corporate governance structure of the corporate organization, conventional banks and also Islamic banks in various ways due to depositors, extraordinary government regulations, and also the Sharia principle. Islamic corporate governance, by contrast, must follow the Sharia principles, and the Supervisory Board of Sharia monitors banking activities to ensure Sharia is in line with a current banking regulations and rules. So in the context of conventional corporate governance and Sharia governance, our study made significant contributions to current literature. A survey of the global corporate management system in the world will be presented for researchers and also academics. So this study is limited instead of empirical evidence to the review of corporate and Islamic governance models.